Welcome to Enrichment Today podcast, hosted by Dr. Amy Christine Blansett. This podcast covers topics to build stability and find tranquility in your life. Join us to discuss topics to improve your financial health, change your limiting beliefs, improve your wellness, and so much more, all to increase your self-sufficiency. If you like this podcast, make sure to follow the Enrichment Today podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and follow the Drew Lewis Foundation on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. You can also check us out on our websites, enrichmenttoday.org and drewlewis.org. Now sit back, relax, and learn to break some crayons with us.
I'm Holly Melton. Nice to have you with us today. I am a reformed financial advisor, and I am now on this podcast with Dr. Amy Blansett at the Drew Lewis Foundation. And the name of the podcast is Enrichment Today. We'd love to have you join us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. And we are graced today with some incredible minds from Ozarks Technical Community College, OTC. I have Dr. Joan Barrett, Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs at the college, as well as Jordan Schreiber. Your title again, please?
College Director of Admissions.
Yes. So basically, the people who keep everything running and
sure.
know everything there is to know at OTC. But we are so grateful to have them with us today because my experience with OTC is that it has been a hidden gem in the Ozarks for a long time, and it's coming out. More people are getting to know more and more about it, and they know it as a local community college, but that is the tiny, tiny tip of the iceberg. And what they are doing for Southwest Missouri, as well as the whole state of Missouri, is just unbelievable. The opportunities, the lives they are changing. They have so many programs, and we have some of our members enrolled in them. We have members who are going to school that just got their high-set degree, and immediately were able to enroll over at OTC with some assistance from the community college. It's been a blessing to watch these individuals grow from being shy about education to full-blown college students that have the full potential of a bright future in front of them. So I want to get started on this. I will let them introduce themselves again, and we'll start off with the idea of admissions, but I want you all to tell everybody who you are, these beautiful, bright, shining lights.
Holly, thanks for having us here. We're always excited to talk about OTC. My gosh, we're just your neighbors down the road. Right. So we've got a lot in common, and we're happy to talk. You mentioned I'm Joan Barrett, and I serve as the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. And that is a lot of different areas that may be attractive to this conversation and your the great neighbor folks that you work with here. We are going to talk about admissions, how we recruit a little bit, the financial aid process, getting registered for classes, and helping develop a plan. And I think that before I pass it off to Jordan, my initial message is that we can't assume everyone, we know we're open admission, we know we're accessible, but that doesn't mean everyone feels that way about us when they drive by. Maybe they see a beautiful campus and might think to themselves, gosh, I don't know if I'm college material. Right. I'm here to tell you everyone who's interested in learning can learn with us. And so it is accessible. So we're here to talk about what barriers they may be and the work that we're doing to knock them down. Yeah. So I'd love for my colleague to talk a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having us. I'm Jordan Schreiber. I'm the College Director of Admissions at OTC, and my realm of things is how we bring in those students who may think, is this for me? Can I take a shot at this? My biggest role is being a cheerleader to that, to helping them cross through that threshold to come into the college and to assure them that they found the right place at the end of the day. So in my work is primarily in recruitment, as well as that onboarding process. How do I get started with this college education? It can seem fairly overwhelming at first when we talk about not only just applying, but the financial aid process. How do I get everything in line to where I just need to worry about learning? And so that's what my team does, and our focus And we are, I feel like, each and every day trying new and innovative ways to assist students through that process.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to throw in a quick experience. I mentioned briefly in the introduction about this member of ours who didn't even have his high school education.
Yeah.
So he had taken the classes that he'd needed a couple years ago. This was last November, but he'd never taken the test. And he knew that he had done all that with OTC. So we called OTC right there and then on the spot, and they were like, we found you in our system. All we need to do is have you come over and register to take the test. So he went over that was a Friday. He went over Monday, got into all of the information he needed to know about it, realized there was a 2-week class, I think, that's offered to kind of
A refresher
course.
Yeah.
Breezed through that, took his high set, passed, and then, like I said, immediately they helped him enroll in the Job Corps Scholar Program.
Fantastic.
But it was so cool within a period of 3 weeks to see this individual who never thought they'd have any college education make this transition. And to me, I was sold on OTC before, but that was just, it gives me chills still. And that is one of the biggest success stories that I've experienced with our members, and I'm, whoo, baby.
And what sold. But what you're describing, Holly, is someone who was excited, was curious, and then somebody who helped that person navigate.
Yes.
So that is going to be a theme that we'll talk about today, is not having to walk that journey alone.
Right.
So
and they were
that's how that worked.
Helpful, so helpful.
But I mean, you're the navigator in that case too.
Well, but they were helpful.
They were. No, I'm not arguing.
I'm deflecting.
I know.
but-
It's that cheering on
Yeah.
that Jordan's saying.
Yeah.
So you cheered this person on, and there was the infrastructure built, and then it
Yeah.
worked. So
and you guys took over. And
how
made
many
it
more?
happen.
How many more people?
Right.
Students. I'm looking out the window into this beautiful neighborhood. Can we connect with and help walk that journey with them?
And one thing I noticed, I was watching some YouTube videos, because there's some pretty cool YouTube videos about OTC. If you're not sure what you're, getting into, I suggest going to YouTube. They might be a year or two old, but they're still extremely relevant. One of the things I noticed is that you have a student-teacher ratio of like 1 to 16.
Yep, on average.
So you don't walk into these overwhelming large classes of 200-300 kids where your name is never known.
And again, that is a model that works in some settings. We've just always held to those ratios. So you're right, you may have a class with 10 students, 24, but you're right, on average, about 16, so that your teacher's gonna know your name, and they're gonna miss you when you're not there.
Yeah.
And they're gonna ask you, is everything going okay? And it's gonna feel warm, and it's gonna feel good. And it's, maybe it's still a writing class and that's not your jam, but you're gonna have an instructor
Right.
who's gonna be cheering you on.
Yes, and they're going to be able to give you that better attention.
Right.
So the other video that I saw on YouTube about OTC was about admissions, and it was so cool because it's Jordan, and she's talking you through how to fill out their application. And she took it from the standpoint in this particular video of if you had never had any college experience before. It didn't matter how old you are. If you've never been to college before, she was there to help. So I'm going to turn it over to you to start that conversation about, let's say I am a high school student. Maybe I just got my high set, but I want to go to school. I have that desire. I am scared of the application process. I don't know if I can afford it. How do I do that crazy thing called a FAFSA? What do I do?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Holly, to this situation, I would say you are not alone. That every day I encounter students who maybe have, when they're in a group setting, this false sense of bravado about coming into college, that it's easy, or I'm not worried about it at all. But then they get in my office with me and I hear the fear, the anxiety about getting started. Do I belong here? And just almost looking for every reason to say no.
Yeah.
And we want to be every reason to say yes. And so my job and my team's job is really to give you every reason to say, oh yeah, this is for me. This is my sign that this is the time for me to do this. So if you're a first-time student with us, Dr. Barrett alluded to earlier, open admission doesn't mean open access, that it's not equal access. We have students who have, maybe someone in their family who did attend college, and that seems a little bit easier to navigate because they can help. But we have a large population of students who have no one to look to for how to attend college. And they don't know the terminology or the lingo of how that works. And so, as we make this shift to being proactive with our students and really holistically serving them, part of that is realizing if we approach this outside of our, I don't want to say ivory tower, but outside of knowing the academic language, we realize actually we need to simplify this. We need to make this as easy as possible for our students. So that's why we have videos like that. But ultimately, we just need a student to raise their hand and say, I'm here, I'm excited, I'm interested, and we want to help from that point. So filling out that application, a completely free application for admission.
Oh, wow.
So never a charge for that. And then the great thing is, after the student fills out that application, within one day, they're getting assigned a person. They're getting an admissions counselor who's going to be reaching out to them to help guide them through the process. So yeah, there are a lot of things you could be doing. You could be doing the FAFSA on your own. You could be sending transcripts, but we got you. We're gonna walk you through every step of that process. All you have to do is say, yeah, I'm interested. And we're gonna help with career exploration. Maybe you're not quite sure where you wanna land or how to get there. That's our job to figure out. That's not your job to figure out. We want to set you up for success to where, we know college is an investment of time, of energy, and perhaps money. So we want to help you make the best use of those resources. And part of that is navigating difficult processes, or at least seemingly difficult processes like the FAFSA.
New processes.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes. And, once we can break that down for a student, they're like, what do you mean I qualify for this scholarship?
Right.
And there are incredible opportunities out there. I think a lot of times I find with students, sometimes if they're, let's say, a traditional 18-year-old right out of high school, they may know about Missouri's A+ program.
Yep.
They have participated in that, which has done phenomenal things for Missouri students. And I like to tell students that they don't realize this doesn't happen in other states.
Right.
It's very cool.
It's pretty special.
Can pay for their tuition. But what about that student who's 28 coming back, don't have access to that, finish their high set? Well, there's a lot of opportunity for them as well. So with the FAFSA, they may qualify for a federal Pell Grant, which is money they do not pay back.
Right.
But there's also the Missouri Fast Track Workforce Incentive Grant, which is designed to help adults return to school.
Say that again, the Missouri
Fast Track Workforce Incentive Grant.
Okay.
We could come back for an episode on that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a major investment on the part of the state of Missouri to invite and encourage eligible adults back to school. Sorry to interrupt you, but
That's what intrigues me. So yes,
it's a good one.
It's
more
an
info on that later.
incredible program to help out adult learners. And so, in that admissions process, we just need you to opt in. That's all we need. And we're there to take it from that point to provide as much assistance as needed. And oftentimes we find those that need it the most don't reach out. So that's why we've shifted to this proactive, holistic model, because we want to catch people to help them break down those barriers that maybe don't need to be there anymore
maybe
for
we
them.
don't know the questions to ask. I'm going to veer off on that for just a second. For so long, we've always invited people to apply, and then we kind of, frankly, left it to them to keep asking us questions as they had them, and many did. But those who didn't just kind of trailed off because maybe they thought, maybe I'm supposed to not ask these kind of questions. Maybe I should already know this. Well, as it turns out, how on earth would you know if you've not been our student before to know how that works? So the invitation is what Jordan's is her invite to say, just reach out to us. Tell us you're interested, and we'll guide you in the conversation.
See, and I love that, because the other thing that I'm learning, sadly, is a lot of people don't think they're worthy.
Oh,
of
Holly, I
the
agree.
education.
We
and
agree.
So it's that, hey, you are supposed to be here. this is your place and you have earned it, and that's what we're going to make sure you understand.
And not to exaggerate, but I've been with OTC, I've grown with OTC for a number of years, and you could probably reflect on some of these as well, but I am struck a few times over the many years of students who actually said, these are the people who just said it, some people wouldn't say it, how many times they've driven by our campus, and I remember one woman, probably closer to my age, who said, gosh, it's so pretty there. I would drive by and think, I don't think I can kind of hang, I don't know that that's my place. And I'm able to say it now without tearing up, but we both did. And she said, I just never really thought I could be somewhere like this. She said on graduation day. So it was her time.
Yeah.
Maybe she had other opportunities, maybe she didn't, I don't know. But the stars lined up. She was brave to stop and walk in, and so fortunate that there was somebody kind. We didn't have this holistic model, so we really relied on her coming in, and I'm so grateful she did. But she represents a lot of people, and I think we keep her in mind, whether you're 18 or 28 or 48, that or pick an age, that we don't want to rely on you being it doesn't need to be your bravest day to drive in and talk to us. Just reach out with an application and we'll talk to you.
Yeah, so a little background on me. I went to college the first time and just did not do well because I didn't know what I wanted to do at 18.
Yeah.
I had a car accident that kept me out of school for the month of October. So that really had some impact. I did not go back to school until I was 29. I spent my 30th birthday taking a final, and I was over the moon, overjoyed. But I, for the longest time, didn't think I could do it. And I got lucky where I had a professor my very first semester in math who was very, very kind and was like, this is how you do algebra. And
confidence grows.
Yes, and then I became a finance major. So the point is you have the right, you have every possible right in this world to walk in that building and ask for Jordan, and she will take you through the process, and it is going to happen.
It is going to
That's
happen.
the cool part. It is going to happen.
Yeah.
So I get off my soapbox and
No,
let you
it's-
finish.
no.
But yeah.
We've spent careers being champions
Yeah.
for people with people, but it's time. It was a long time for us to look at where we were losing people because of things that we thought. Just one more thing, and then we'll go back to Jordan's introduction. But it's like, I think that for a long time, and if you don't mind me classifying, in our age bracket, it seemed like, I don't know that we thought this, but it seemed like travailing that process of going to school was kind of like, well, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. It's character building. You'll fall down, you'll fail, okay, isn't there enough of that in life? I mean, there's enough of that. We don't need to add to that. So we've decided that, I'm not saying there won't be frustrations in college. My goodness, there's a lot of learning. But as you said earlier, let's let that be where the challenges are. Learning a new language, taking a math course, writing in a course. Let that be where the challenge and the real learning is. Let your instructors cheerlead you through that. But my goodness, let's not let the admissions process and how on earth to apply for federal aid be the thing that stops us. Now, if we have that conversation and you're like, I understand everything, but I think this is when my time would be better. Well, now you know that. We can talk about all that. So, anyway, what were you saying about admissions?
Well, I was going to say, just kind of to your point right here, I'm thinking about, our admissions process and just sitting here taking in what you both are saying. And I think about, Holly, you had said, just get a hold of Jordan. I think sometimes students think like we're just this big institution that like doesn't care. Like you could literally come in student services and ask for Jordan. I'm the only one. They'll find me.
They'll find her.
So that's, at the end of the day, we have people who want to help, who want to be there, and we just need you to say you're here, and we'll take it from there.
Because we're really not supposed to go door to door.
No, we avoid that.
Yeah.
But, and I would say to that too, college can seem overwhelming in the sense of, I feel like we still have this prevailing mindset that college is a 4-year bachelor's degree always.
Right.
And that is just not the case.
Everyone's going to be an accountant.
Exactly. Everyone's
Nothing's wrong with accountants.
No. Or I'm a psychology major. It says all the thousand. Nothing wrong with that. And that's what I like to tell students, that there is nothing wrong with wherever your goal is. Some goals require more education. You know, if you want to be a teacher, which we need a lot of teachers in the state of Missouri, you're going to need that 4-year education or beyond. But our goal is to best serve the student. So maybe you don't have 4 years. Maybe that is not something you can set your life aside for. But maybe we can work together to create a schedule that works, that you could do a year and we could get you a certificate. Something that is going to help you either change careers, move up in your career. Something I've always valued about OTC, and you know, we have great educational partners. We're just really blessed to have so many great higher ed institutions in this area to partner with. But OTC has always been community mindset in our community. We are fingers on the pulse of what this community needs. So I like to tell students when we talk about, I love to brag about our placement rates and the first salaries, because I know they speak for themselves. And so, you know, the things that we offer are needed here. It's not something that you're like, good luck finding a job in that. That's why we're building. If you've gone past Chestnut and National, you might see a giant building
construction
under
situation
construction.
Going on.
We have the Plaster Manufacturing Center, because Springfield is a hub.
Can't wait to get you over there.
Yes. We're a hub for manufacturing for the stainless steel industry. And there is, you know, I feel like our job is to change, not only, we want to help every single student, but advocacy for changing the mindset of how these industries operate and the type of worker that is needed. You know, I feel like sometimes there's this very antiquated view of this dark and dirty factory where that doesn't require any skill.
And they'll hire just anybody.
Exactly. But we're talking, you know, on the level of a 40th of the size of a human hair kind of precision with things. And high tech equipment
that requires training.
Exactly. And, you know, that I don't begin to think I understand fully. I don't.
You have to go through the program.
Exactly. But we know those jobs are here, and we know it's about a living wage. It's not about just getting a job. We know these lead to good incomes to provide.
And so if somebody, again, you know, like for example, on our website, there's going to be there's a pop-up, you know, otc.edu, right? I'm on the website, and there's a pop-up form. You can ignore it or can fill it out, and Jordan or one of her team will reach out. I mean, not at that second. Don't be afraid. You know, you tell us how you want to communicate. You want us to email back? You want us to call? Right? They have options.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, I mean, you mentioned a living wage. We've got, you know, Holly, you work with a lot of our community, and so do we, who are working, right? Unemployment is pretty low right now. Most people who want and can work are working. Now, job satisfaction is one thing, right? We would all love to just be thrilled every day we go to work. That would be like icing on the cake. But how do you go from a wage to a living wage where we have a more robust, the belt of middle class should be really big, and a big spectrum, right? You know, there's a big range rather. But how do we help people in that range? How do we help people have, our chancellor, Dr. Higdon, says often, how do people go from getting paid a wage to having a living wage, to be able to dream a little bit in life? And so if someone's working, if they want to have the conversation with Jordan and her team about how do I work and do this, that's a conversation. There are some strategies to that. And so it's worth the conversation. And again, we'll have the conversation with you. Maybe it's part of you making that next step to applying, but maybe it's just something you want to consider. I don't do well when I don't have all the information. So the more information somebody wants to kind of put in their bucket to think on, we're here for that.
Thank you for listening to Enrichment Today, brought to you by the Drew Lewis Foundation. At the Drew Lewis Foundation, we educate, empower, and support underserved families through personalized programs and coaching to increase the quality of life and build resilient communities. If you like Enrichment Today, make sure to follow Enrichment Today and Drew Lewis Foundation on social media. And now, back to the show.
So it sounds like there is a great deal of attention given to those that just contact you, reach out and contact you. Yeah. And then they'll take you through the admissions, the financial aid process. They'll also talk with you about what programs are available, the certificates. So maybe you don't need a full 2-year degree. Some of these certificates might help you get your foot in the door with some of these manufacturing opportunities. There are 2-year degrees in a variety of programs. There are opportunities to go into what we need most, electrical, plumbing, all these different types of...
A lot of connections for the high-skilled trades.
Right.
Yeah.
That are just becoming...
I mean, when are we ever going to not need people to do these amazing, this amazing work for which people get paid pretty well for?
Somebody has to fix the HVAC,
Absolutely.
the plumbing, the electrical, because I am clueless.
Right. We're in your beautiful Fairbanks building today,
Yeah.
and I sense a little air conditioning. That's
Yeah.
nice. Electricity is going, and so that doesn't happen by itself. I'm not being silly. That does not happen by
Right.
itself, and I would be, we'd be in trouble if I were in charge of that.
Well, we see so much tech, and everything's tech-driven.
Yep.
But those things are not. They may have a technical aspect to them, but there is a human that has to go in there and do the groundwork.
That's right, and I think that you were alluding to that with like maybe an older vision of factory work or manufacturing work, that it was maybe didn't require high skills, and that is just firmly not true. There are, think about the line moving in craft.
Right.
That's moving, well, somebody had to program that. So I have to be a computer science genius? No, but there is training required.
If the belt breaks down, somebody has to fix that.
That's right.
Right?
We left campus a little while ago, and there were some trucks there. There's a whole HVAC roofing project going on. There's electrical work going on in the building in another room, and aren't we fortunate to have, and they all had Springfield on the truck, different companies that were there, and I thought, there were, I think, half a dozen people on the roof. Anyway, long story short, that didn't just happen.
Right.
They have some training, and then maybe when you get into those fields, there's always training, but at that point your employer kind of helps you with that. Learning just kind of never stops to be ready for the next task at hand.
I think that's important to remember. So they're into this, they've gotten a hold of you. They're like, Jordan, help me. Jordan, take me away. Like
Yes,
Helen
that's
used to.
right.
Yes.
So what is next? What does it
So
look like?
next is I'm gonna want to meet with you. I'm gonna be on you till you want to actually come see me or meet with me over Zoom or chat on the phone, because I want to get a good sense of your goals. I want to know where do you see yourself at the end of this. And is it just having the ability to go to your kids' soccer games, like having a steady schedule for work? Is it
Something predictable?
Yeah. Do you want to change careers entirely? Do you want to move up? So again, just customizing what that experience looks like for the student. But ultimately, our admissions counselors, you get a hold of me, myself included in that, then I'm going to orient you to what college life is like. Maybe you know some of it, maybe you need to be reminded of it, but what does it mean to be a full-time student? What kind of workload can I expect? How do I navigate OTC's, my OTC account and email and all of that? So we don't just turn you loose and say, figure it out, so my job is going to be, besides the financial aid piece, is to say, here's how you're going to access your courses online, your grades. Here's how your instructors in the college is going to communicate with you. Here is how, I'm going to show you how to read your degree audit, meaning what is needed to finish what you're starting.
Your academic plan is all lined out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So that we're going to do that together, and then we're going to actually break into, it's time for planning. And I have some students who come to me and they think that it's going to be a much bigger build-up process to get to that stage where I'm like, it's time to register for classes, and they're like, wait, what, today? And I'm like, you can walk out with a schedule. Like, we're doing this right now. So, I sometimes maybe push the baby birds out of the nest a little bit, but I think as humans we have this, I'll think on it. So I really, if you're talking to me, you're gonna have to give me a reason why you're still thinking on it and why we can't move forward with this, because then we're going to talk about the very realistic, what does your schedule look like? How can we, when are ideal times for you to go to school? Is online, hybrid, and that's something that I love that we do, and, never waste a good crisis, right? In the wake of the 2020 pandemic, we've gotten creative about how we offer courses. So
our faculty have just
risen. It's amazing. We have classes that are in person and on Zoom that if, at different locations you can participate in more classes. We're doing a new piloting, and it seems to be working really well. So continuing on with a new
our
model.
Level classes.
Yes, where, previously, the Republic Center, brand new, can't offer the robust schedule that maybe the Springfield campus could offer. But
so maybe they offer Calculus 1,
right?
Because there are students who need to take that for, maybe not everybody, but not me. Calculus 1, and we've got 3 people in Republic. That's not really our business model. It's hard to run a class, but we might have 4 other people in, say, Waynesville. So what do we do?
So at that point, we're going to have a live virtual learning level. So with LVL, we're going to have an instructor at one of the locations, but also an ability for the students at other locations to come to a classroom and Zoom in with that.
So it's taught live at one of those locations, and other locations can benefit. Instead of saying, sorry, Republic Center, we're just not going to offer.
Or you're going to have to drive to Springfield.
No, stay in your community.
No,
take the classes you need.
So that is something that's come out of this.
We wish we thought of it, but it was really brilliant faculty members.
Exactly. And the online learning options are there, but also for the student who, I get a lot of students who are really like online is perfect for them. They love the flexibility, but I also have students who come to me who are like, I want to be in person with someone. I want the instructor right there.
I also want to meet friends.
Yeah. Yes. I couldn't imagine taking a college algebra class online, like honestly, for myself.
For me.
Yes, for me.
Our math friend over here, maybe she could have.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? There's different strokes for different folks, and we've got
those options.
And you wouldn't know that. It's not intuitive that you would just, they must offer many varieties. Who would know that? That's what we talk about.
Absolutely.
And to throw this in, you mentioned you have the campus up north. What is the campus?
Waynesville?
Waynesville. I want to say West Plains. I knew that wasn't it. But you have Waynesville, you have Republic, you have...
Waynesville? Centers in Waynesville? I have to do the math. Waynesville, Lebanon, Springfield, Republic, Richwood Valley, right between Nixa and Ozark, and Hollister, our Taylor Rock campus.
So you're all over the place, plus you're virtual when needed.
Right.
So you could be anywhere?
Yep.
Yes.
And be able to benefit from the OTC classes.
Correct. Where there are some limitations would be some classes that require some of our manufacturing classes.
Yeah.
That if they're in, we don't necessarily have a welding lab at every location. But again, that would come through in a conversation with admissions to figure out what's in my area.
And something that's amazing about that doesn't always happen with colleges is we're one system, one college. You don't have to pick exclusively one location. So maybe you're a welding student, but you want to take your English course at Richwood Valley, so you can only come to Springfield a couple days a week, and you don't have to worry about that. So we can make a schedule that fits whatever is right for the student. So, I would just say as a student is thinking about all the reasons this may not work. I have my kids, I have responsibilities, we get it. We know we're not, that's our whole idea here, is that we know we're not getting students that their only responsibility is school. We know
money is no issue.
Right?
I mean, we have every kind of student, and there are some students who that is their job, is going to school. But most of our students go to school and have jobs.
Yeah,
It's,
that's
and it
real
works.
life.
It's real life.
Exactly.
And families and
Yep.
kids and
Absolutely. We know life is messy, and we know there is never maybe that ideal time where you're like, I can set everything aside and just do this.
And
And
nothing will ever happen to interrupt me going to school.
Exactly. But we have so many options. You don't have to necessarily be a full-time student. We can talk about how we make that plan work. Maybe you add in summer. There are different things you can do to stay on track, but still accommodate whatever schedule you're working with. And I think something that, as we have adjusted how we serve our students is that we just, as Dr. Barrett had talked about here, we don't say, oh, well, you just got to pull yourself up, and this is part of the challenge. If you can't make it work, I guess it wasn't meant for you.
Sorry, you didn't know how to figure out federal financial
And
aid.
that is absolutely not the case. And that, we realize that for each of the students, there is something transformative about education. It is life changing, and that is our goal. My goal is to get you to where you want to be, to where you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck, or whatever that goal is. It doesn't have to be I'm going to be the scholar at Harvard. You could do that. We've had people go on to all of those colleges, but to MIT and all of that. So absolutely possible, but no dream is too small, and no dream is too big to accomplish.
I love that. It's taking the first step, and then that fear starts to dissipate, and then all of a sudden it becomes, oh my gosh, what else can I do instead of I can't.
And each of us, we won't go around the room, but each of us have experiences that we look back on closer to the event and think, gosh, I sort of don't remember why I was so nervous or so afraid, and nothing wrong with being that way. We each have things now in our lives that we might be holding back on because we're like, I don't know, I don't want to mess that up. Maybe I've messed other things up and I don't want to mess it up. I don't know, you got to take a chance, and we're not here we didn't create an infrastructure for you to mess up. We're here to build up and lift up and talk about it, and it's really, truly a pleasure to be part of that process with people.
Absolutely. And I tell students, as they think maybe I don't fit in, maybe they're, like an adult learner.
Will anybody else be my age?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Great
I tell
question.
them every single time. So Dr. Barrett does too. We teach adjunct in our respective fields and contribute in that way as well. And I love that connection because it's completely different than what I do in admissions.
Right.
I get the students there, and a lot of times I always offer to help them with their FAFSA. So
I'm like, by the way, I work in student affairs.
I do other things on the side I can help you with, but I always tell those students who are what we would say non-traditional that you are the one I want in my class because you know what this means for your life.
Yeah.
They're usually, by far more motivated and just curious and like the idea of what this education
more
means.
mature than when we all started it.
Right.
Exactly.
To
And
begin.
that's nothing on the 18-year-old, but
No.
Holly, to you, what your experience was, I didn't get it right the first time, or I didn't know what I was doing. That comes up all the time, and there's no reason for embarrassment about that. Instead, it's like how exciting we can get back and do it.
Yes.
In a way that's meaningful and right for you, because that wasn't your time, but this can be your time. But my message is any time can be your time if we work that out. You don't have to go on for 10 years wondering, it didn't work the first time. That we are going to cheer you on no matter where you start in the process. And, as Dr. Barrett said, it's about building that confidence that if you can get one under your belt where you did it successfully and felt right about it.
You get the fever.
It is.
You do.
It changes everything. And, and having someone cheering you on who cares, who's checking in, who's saying, hey, Joan, I saw you across the way. I was going to get my Starbucks.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how things are going. How are your classes going? You liking your instructors? It's really cool to keep those sustained connections with students. I think the hardest part of my job is I have to move them on. Once they're in.
But you reminded me with mentioning the connections, Jordan. You're right. You're like, okay, now it's time for you to connect with your navigator and your program. something we started doing during the pandemic, which we're going to keep going, is our calling campaigns. So every semester, if you're already an OTC student, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, you can look forward to hearing from us. Either you can hear from me directly, you can hear my voicemail, I'll leave you an email. Not to bother students, but to check in. We do an early semester check-in, and after registration starts, checking in to see if there's anything that they need help with. Now, remember, there's a lot of one-on-one work, so those phone calls aren't as dire, you know what I mean? Students tend to have a lot of their needs met, but we'll reach out. So Jordan and I each have a list. All of our colleagues do. Almost everybody that works at OTC does this.
It doesn't matter if you're the chancellor or
no, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We all are there because we like students and we like helping them. But any of us who've had contact with students, to include the chancellor, make phone calls and say, hey, this is Joan Barrett. I'm calling from OTC. Holly, I'm just checking in. Want to see how the semester's underway? Do you have the supplies you need for classes? Any questions I can answer? I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10, I don't have any questions they can answer. But they say, no, I think I'm good. Thanks for checking on me. I'm like, you're welcome. And so then we're done. But we think, we're learning that there's some byproducts of that. Every now and then we do hear about a near urgent need, and so we can tackle it. But we hope that some other byproducts that students are letting us know include feeling just a general sense of support, a sense of connection, that somebody gives a heck about how it's going for them. And thanks for checking in. Thanks for checking in. I'm like, you're welcome. Cool. Good to talk to you.
To that point, you mentioned when we were talking before that you have navigators that you assign, which I think is, it almost sounds too good to be true. So tell me about this, because that is remarkable.
Sure. I'll kind of intro, and I'll ask Jordan to fill in some gaps that I'm sure I'll leave for you. So you've been through the admissions process. You're pretty squared away, and you've chosen your program. Things are clicking along, and then Jordan, as the admission counselor, makes a warm connection, Holly, between you guys. She's going to say, Holly, I'm going to connect you to Joan. She's your navigator. She is going to be your person now while you're in your program, and then I'll pick up. I don't actually serve as a navigator. I'm not that fortunate, but we have a lot of people whose full-time jobs are and will be serving as navigators. And so navigators have a regular schedule of outreach. Also, you reach out to me if you want, but we built this because not every student will, even when they need it, ask for help. Right. Or ask a question. This model wasn't built after my experiences, but I can tell you I never would have asked another adult at a college a question. That's not something I'm proud of, but that is the truth. Right. I had this false narrative that somehow I was supposed to know how to navigate things. Right. That I'm in college, I can't be a dope and go ask a question. I just can't do it. I would rather stay in a class than ask how to get out and get a failing grade. I've just said it for posterity. That is true. So, and that's somebody who was supported, and I wasn't working a lot in college. I mean, things should have been easy peasy, no brainer, but it wasn't true. It was a part of my development, and maybe, I don't know, just wasn't ready to ask those questions. So guess what? In this scenario, ask questions if you have them. I'm gonna ask them of you if I notice, if I see that maybe your attendance has changed. I'm gonna ask you about it, Holly. We're going to check in at midterm. We're going to check in on how the financial aid. I'm going to be seeing. I've got a lot of triggers on my side that you don't know about. Right. That I can see. Oh, you know what? I don't think that last form ever did get turned in about financial aid. I've got to reach out to Holly.
That's huge.
It's really huge, and we piloted this approach for a while, a good year. And then it was just irrefutable, the evidence that we saw. Students' GPAs were slightly higher. I don't want to exaggerate that everybody was graduating with a 4.0, and by the way, you don't have to. Grades went up. People stayed in school more, dropped less, graduated more. Yeah. So all of these indicators of success and satisfaction and general contentment were going way, way up. We have no reason not to replicate this for every student. So we are we are bringing that on. You'll notice a lot of wonderful change in our offices over this next few months. We're bringing more staff on board so that we can include every student in this model. And that's how we're going to do it. And we will walk together as a navigator through your academic journey.
And it's one-to-one.
It's one-to-one.
Navigator for every one student?
No, it's
Okay.
every student has a navigator. A navigator has a number of students.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I
they
was
have
like, that's a lot
for lack of a better word,
navigators.
but a caseload, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've got my group of students that I'm responsible for. I'm looking at indicators.
Right.
I'm checking on things. That is my full-time job. I am on watch to help you and be on the ready. And so, Holly, you've called me, I'm your navigator, and you've got a question about another scholarship that you just read about. And you're like, I wonder if maybe I'd be eligible. So you can go chase that down if you like, but I've already told you in every way I know how, I'm your person. So you ask me, and I happen to know, so I tell you. If I don't know, I say, Holly, give me this afternoon. I'm going to get the answer, and I'll either, how would you like me to get back hold of you? Call you? Drop you an email? Oh yeah, just drop me an email. And it's my job to figure that out. It's my job to do the work of reaching out to the people that you don't know, because you don't have to know everybody at OTC.
Well, and you said that the same with, because we're running a little close on time.
Sure.
I want to get some of these tidbits in there. You had said that also applies to helping them find a career.
Yes, absolutely. So, we found that with students sometimes that they maybe think they're in the right program for where they want to end up, or they're taking classes that they think align, but didn't really know, and we're catching them at like semester 2 and 3, and we don't want any excess classes to be taken that don't contribute towards what that end goal is. So our goal is to catch that early and to have the navigator involved in that process of planning out that long-term plan. So as if Joan is my navigator, she's going to help me plan for next semester, of course, and get registered, but we're going to be talking long-term. Here's what I can expect to take in the spring. Here's what I can expect to take next year, and when I can expect to graduate. So I keep my eye on that end goal.
And maybe we're talking with career services about resume prep and interview opportunities for practice, if you will.
Do the mock interviews?
We do mock interviews, we sure do.
And then I believe you have a wardrobe assistant?
So let me tell you, we don't have one institutional, we don't have one permanently, but we piloted a program a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, where we have a number of, the clothes we all need to wear for many job interviews. Maybe not all job interviews, but something a little more dressy than I have on right now, maybe, depending on the job. And so we have those clothes available, and we advertised to our students, and we had a lovely outpouring of students. And so it was our first go around, and we had, doesn't sound like a lot, but 42 students came in and had individualized, had a Joan or a Jordan, hey, so what kind of interview are you looking for? I don't need to be dressy, but I wouldn't mind a button-up shirt and a pair of slacks. Oh, okay, cool, let's look over here. And then we had a little dressing area, and so I didn't even think to bring, but we have some feedback from students. It's overwhelming. People said, I've got clothes for every day, but I didn't have that next level, that dress, or
just to bump up.
Right, to bump it up a little bit, turn up the volume on my wardrobe. So we had people leave with 2 things, 4 things, 6 things, and it was, we're going to make some decisions, but I'll tell you what, we've already made a date, a surprise, for next fall. We're going to be hosting it again, and I wonder if it'll become a regular thing, because for men and women, that's not something that's easy. We don't have that resource immediately. The Suit Yourself boutique is in Springfield downtown, appointment only for women, fantastic resource, fantastic. So we are going to be referring a lot of students there. We have some really nice little brochures for people, but we also wanted to have something on our campus that was suited to both men and women. We even had some steel-toed boots.
Nice.
We had some nice denim jeans that my husband worked for the utility for 27 years. That's what he wore to work most days. So trying to capture all of the jobs that people would be applying. So it's a long answer to say we've piloted it, and we're going to try it again, and it may be something that's more regular on our campus, but we would make sure to tell students about that.
And completely free. I don't know if you mentioned that.
I didn't
All
mention
the clothes
free.
were free to students.
See, I made an assumption that everybody would know that. You're right. You got to say it. Of course, no cost. And we're not looking for massive gratitude, but students just it was really a help.
It was a cool
Because
experience.
we want them to seal the deal on a job. So thanks for asking.
And I hate to have to wrap
Nope,
this up.
we've got to.
I need to have you guys back, but I know you have a student activity to get to.
We have
which
our
is
big picnic day.
So awesome.
Yeah.
But I just want to reiterate some of the points we talked about. First of all, otc.edu is the website. Your email, Jordan, is?
It is schreijo@otc.edu. But again, when you get on that first page, there's a little form there. It gives you the space if you're just like, I heard about Jordan.
And it goes
to me.
Okay,
So
good.
my team are the ones who answer every single one of those forms. So, or just come in the building and shout Jordan. I'm sure I'll come running. But
Again, we've only hired one Jordan. So.
Exactly.
All the other Jordans.
I try to intervene and keep us from hiring other Jordans.
Yes.
I'm usually at Starbucks. You can find me there too. But that is something that I would say in Dr. Barrett and I are what you would consider in some administration level. Like, it does not matter what level. Like, we love that interaction with students. We never want them to feel intimidated, like, did I get the right person or whatever? Absolutely not. You've made my day by coming in. So
Every
please come
person
talk
is the
to me.
right person.
Yeah, and we have both. We started. We've been in OTC and been in those very front-facing student roles, and so we've been there, we've done that. I'm an alum of OTC, so we want to help. We just want to. That's the best part of our day.
It is. You can take the gal from the front desk, but you can't take the front desk from the gal.
That's right.
You need a hand, holler at us. So the webpage is meant to be easy, so we'd love it if you'd share that with your
otc.edu, and then you will help them with the admissions process. You will help them with the FAFSA, the financial aid form, and other opportunities for financial aid, maybe scholarships, grants. You will assign, once they're into the program, a navigator that stays with them one-to-one, so that if there's questions, problems, you're having a good day, having a bad day, that person will be there to advocate and to help you. And they have a beautiful, wonderful wardrobe program that they're piloting, certificates, degrees. There are multiple educational opportunities and different pathways for whatever it is that makes sense for you. So it doesn't have to be what we've all grown up thinking is the traditional path to an education. High set.
Yep.
If you are wanting to go back to school, it takes one call, one walk in the door, hey Jordan, and that is what you need to do. So we will be back with more of Dr. Barrett and Jordan Schreiber, because this is too much to not share. There's just so many facets of OTC that are remarkable. So I want to thank Dr. Barrett. I want to thank Jordan Schreiber for being here today.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will bring them back. And I hope you have a spectacular day. Thank you. And this is Holly Melton for Enrichment Today. Enjoy your beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Enrichment Today podcast. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And visit our websites enrichmenttoday.org and drewlewis.org. Until next time, remember to break some crayons.